With me today, I have a brand new 2020 Subaru Legacy. Now for this model year, the Legacy went through a complete redesign and now utilizes a brand new platform and now has a turbo engine option, which this XT is equipped with, and now has standard safety features with the help of Eyesight, and it still retains that awesome symmetrical all-wheel drive system that Subarus are known for. So does that mean this is the best Legacy ever? And how does it compare to other mid-size sedans in the segment? That's what I'm here to find out. So in this review video, learn everything there is to know about this brand new Legacy so you can decide if it is the right car for you. Stay tuned. I want to give a big shout out to the Auto Barn Subaru in Countryside. They made this video possible, so if you're in the market for a brand new or used Subaru, then definitely check out this dealership. Their URL is on the screen and in the description below. First, let's look at the outside. The front end of this redesigned Legacy looks a bit sleeker than the previous generation. The middle grille is wider, the headlights have been reshaped, and the bottom bumper has a newer, edgier design. All Legacies get LED headlights, but on the limited and higher trims, you do get LED steering responsive headlights, which turn when you turn the steering wheel. Not all trims get fog lights, but the ones that do are LED. Moving on to the side, the new Legacy grew about 2 inches in length. Almost all of the 2 inches went into extending the rear legroom. On this Touring XT, the mirrors have aluminum color and the window surrounds are chrome, which really pop against the black color. All Legacies get either 17-inch or 18-inch alloy wheels. The ones you see here are 18-inch and they are shared with the Limited XT and the Touring XT trims. The back of the Legacy is squared off with a high trunk height. On the bottom you see a pair of exhaust tips and the taillights are smoked and have black inserts within. Moving on to the engine, this is where it gets really exciting. The Legacy comes with 2 engines. The base is a 2.5 liter pushing 182 horsepower. This is the same one used in the Forester and the based Outback. However, this Legacy replaces the old 3.6 liter engine with a new turbo 2.4 liter that pushes 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. Both engines are mated to a Cvt transmission. More on the engine and transmission once I start driving. As for a trunk, there is a good amount of space, although there are no nets or cubby holes to store your things. Below the bottom cover are tools and the spare tire. To fold down the second row, simply pull down the levers above. Once the seats are down, the opening is quite massive. The second row to the new Legacy is spacious, and in case of this Touring XT, it is simply beautiful. This tan Napa leather really pops out and have a modern design. The back seats can also fold down from the second row by pushing the button on the backrest. I'm 5'10" and I have a good 4 to 5 inches of legroom left and equal in headroom. The 2 extra inches in length really made a big difference. As for the amenities, there is a pair of USB ports and heated seats. As for cup holders, there are 2 in the armrest and 1 in each door panel. For parents, there are 2 sets of car seat latches and 1 extra one in the middle. Alright guys, I'm behind the wheel, so let me show you this gorgeous cabin and the features you'll find in this brand new Legacy. Starting with the steering wheel. Now this looks very familiar, looks like the same one used in the Outback and the Forester I reviewed previously, and that's okay. I like this design. It's a modern design and I like the way it feels. It has the right thickness and the 10-2 spot is a little bit thicker, and I'll let you guys know how this feels once I start driving. Now in terms of the buttons, there's actually quite a bit. On this side, you'll see that most of this is actually for the cruise control, adaptive cruise control. Now, moving down here, you do see this is for heated steering wheel, and this is an unusual spot. I haven't seen that before. And back here, you do see paddle shifters, which is available on this XT trim that I'm driving today. Now on this side, this is basically for volume radio stations going through different sources. That's all over here. Voice control, phone control over here, and these buttons are actually to control the info screen in the gauge cluster, so up and down pretty easy. So let me show you that next. So as you can see, left and right side, those are analog. You got the tach and speedometer, those are pretty basic. Now in the middle here, by default, you do see your Legacy in between the lines, right? And you see some icons there in terms of what's turned on in terms of the safety features. On top, you have a clock, outside temperature, and your miles per gallon, what you're averaging. If you go up and down, you can see there's many things that you can choose from, right? In terms of your trip computer, miles before you run out of gas, TPMS, so compass. There's a lot of things that you could scroll through. This is pretty standard these days, and it's pretty easy to navigate. All you have to do is utilize these buttons, and that's pretty much it. All right, now moving on over here, you have the dimmer switch over here, and this is for trunk release. This is pretty standard. This is window control. One thing to note is, take a look. All 4 windows have auto up and down, and that's pretty cool. Most cars just have it for the front. This has it for all 4 windows. Now the mirrors are powered, so you can manually choose to retract the mirrors, which is really cool, and that's what this button is for. And then of course this is for mirror controls. Now over here, it's a little bit farther, but that's where your memory seats are, and you do get 2 memory seat settings. Now moving on to the middle, this is the main attraction. This is the 11.6-inch infotainment screen that is brand new for the Legacy. Now I've showed you guys this on the Outback that I reviewed, same exact one, and you could see it's definitely the main attraction, right? But take a look at the rest of the cabin. It is gorgeous. This Napa leather, this tan color really pops out with the black dash. This is soft plastic. This is a really soft leather. Everything combined just looks really gorgeous and elegant and high end in here. I love this cabin. Now, onto this infotainment system. I got off track a little bit, but as you can see, very large, vertically aligned, right? And you have large buttons in the middle. Categories are pretty standard. You have your maps for navigation, radio, media, apps. In terms of apps, you do have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Those are standard, and you can basically configure it however you want. So if you scroll to the side here, add shortcuts. If there's something you want to add, you can do so. Now, in terms of lag, there is a bit of lag, just slightly. So if you're selecting apps and going through, it's not that big of a deal. But let me show you in a little bit. Once I go to climate control, I think that's where it might be irritating for some of you guys. Now, if you go to car info, this is pretty cool. I want to show you this because you can see, like, if you're off angle, right, what your symmetrical all-wheel drive is doing. So if you go to advanced package, this is kind of overview of all the safety features that this Legacy has, and it'll tell you if they're turned on or off. And if you want more information, you go to info, and this is pretty cool. This is part of Eyesight, and you get even a few other things because this is the XT edition. For example, you get pre-collision braking, and it gives you info about what it does and how to turn on or off. Lane departure warning. Okay, Eyesight, oops, I missed one. Eyesight assist monitor. Then you have reverse auto braking, driver monitoring system. This is a cool thing. This utilizes a camera, and it's like studying your eyes. So it'll let you know if you've been driving too long, you're falling asleep. That is pretty cool. And then you do get blind spot detection with rear cross traffic alert, high beam assist, front view monitor, and let me show you that in a little bit too. So this is everything that you get. So in terms of safety features, you pretty much get it all in this Legacy, and that's really important for a lot of you guys. Now, if you go into this button right here, this is kind of like the vehicle controls, like everything that relate to the drive, right? For example, under vehicle control, you have vehicle dynamic control. That's basically traction control, but auto vehicle hold, steering responsive headlights, right? So the headlights do turn when you turn your steering wheel. So these are things that you could turn on or off. Also driver assistance, driving assistance, pre-collision braking, you want to turn that off. The lane departure assist, the function, whether or not you want to just buzz you or actually intervene or both, right? You can select that, and also blind spot detection, rear cross traffic alert. So that is in here as well. Now, if you go to others, this is what I was looking for. Cruise control and volume, those are pretty standard, but what I was looking for is the engine auto start stop. Now this, a lot of manufacturers have a button somewhere here, but they have it inside the settings here, so you do have to dig for it. And if you want to go back, just utilize this button. This is kind of like the home button. So it's pretty easy to understand, although I will say that it does take getting used to. For those of you guys that are not so familiar with touchscreens, you like physical buttons, this will take getting used to, because as you can see, there's really no buttons here, right? Everything's integrated into this one large screen. You do have a volume and tune knobs, right? And then you do have some buttons here for defroster options, heated mirrors, and then you have climate control where you can set your temperature on both sides. But that's pretty much it. There's no other physical buttons. Well, I lied here. Okay, there's one more, hazard light, but that is it. So for some of you guys, this will be a big leap. Now, in terms of information on top, you do get outside temperature, clock, your radio. So those are displayed on top. And down here, this is where you control your climate. This is your climate control. That's on the bottom side, right? And it's hard to understand at first, but it's not so bad. So as you can see, these are for heated seats. Now, if you click on one of them, it'll pull up. This is the driver. If you click on this one, this is for passenger, right? So this is where you can control the temperature. You can control the temperature with this too, but you can do it through a touchscreen. But for heated seats and ventilated seats, that's where you turn it on from here. Now remember, I talked about the lag and how that could be irritating for some. That's where, if you're setting like this, it may irritate you, because you do have to wait a little bit. There's like a slight lag, okay? And sometimes if you're not paying attention, it just like disappears really quick like that. So some of you guys might hit it and maybe you get distracted and it just like closes on you, so you have to go back. So you do have to be aware of that. So that is on both sides, dual zone, right? And of course you can turn it on or off like so, and the fan controls on the very bottom. And then this is where you can set some of your modes, right? If you want to do it manually, your fan speed, max AC, all that stuff. See while I was explaining it kind of disappeared, right? So you do have to make your decisions pretty quickly. So this is where I think most of you guys, if you're not used to the touch interface, you might have the most trouble learning this setup. And if you're trying to do it really quickly, you might get confused or get caught up. But once you learn it, it's not so bad. Down here, parking brake, electronic brake. Moving down over here, you got a cubby hole that's actually quite deep, so you can put your phone in here. Aux port, 2 USB ports, which is nice. You have a regular shifter with manual shifting over here. So if you do go to the bottom to drive and go to the left, you can do manual shifting. And in this Legacy, you do have paddle shifters, so that is important. I'll test that out. You do have 2 cup holders. So moving on to the armrest, dual stages. You got first stage, which is just, you know, for putting pens or a notepad or something like that. And now this is the first, I haven't seen this in a long time. You do have a CD player that's hidden in here, and then you do have a 12V outlet and just room for whatever you wanted to put. As for the seats, take a look. This Napa leather, this tan color, is really, really lovely. And plus, you can see this design, very sporty. The bolsters are nice and thick, so I can't wait to test out these seats. Not only do they look gorgeous, they feel gorgeous, but do they work and are they comfortable? And I'll let you guys know once I start driving. Now up here, you got some home link buttons over here. You got SOS information, and you do have a sunroof. Not panoramic, just a regular sunroof. As for the cameras, there are 2 on this Legacy. So if you go into reverse, it will show you what's behind you, right? That's pretty obvious. Now the resolution is a little bit grainy. So it's not the highest resolution, and as you can see, it's just this one piece. It's not taking up the whole screen for some reason. So even though this is a large screen, the camera view is actually quite small. Now, if you didn't want to see what's behind you, you want to see what's ahead of you, there is a view button over here, and you simply click that, or touch it, and then you'll see this is what's in front of you. All right, it's time to go for a drive. Let's see how this brand new Legacy is on the roads. First impression is I still can't get over how nice it looks in here. Mostly because of the contrast, and I'll admit I'm a sucker for that, but I love the way this Napa leather, this tan color, is popping out at you right when you sit inside, and how it's covering the seats, the door panel, the dash, the armrest, everything. This cabin is just one good looking cabin. It is really striking and I love it. So I do have the heated steering wheel turned on, which is really nice. It's keeping my hands warm, and I need it because I'm freezing. But one small complaint is it's not the full wheel. You feel it a lot in the 10 and 2 spot and even the bottom, but you don't feel on the very top. So it's like 3/4 of the wheel gets it, which is kind of strange. So in case you guys didn't know, this utilizes a new global platform that a lot of the Subarus are now utilizing, but primarily this one is shared with the Outback. That is why it looks so familiar. The dash layout, the overall length, width is very similar to an Outback. But one huge difference is the ground clearance and seating position. This definitely drives and feels like a sedan. You're sitting low to the ground. You're not high up, right? So that is a big difference. The Outback is like right in between. It's not as high as an SUV, but it's definitely not as low as a sedan, and you get that awesome ground clearance too. This Legacy is different in that way. So those of you guys that are looking for more of a sedan feel, more planted, lower feel, you'll get that in this Legacy. In terms of visibility, it is great in here. There's no hood scoop, and I can see clearly over the hood. Big windshield, big windows. Blind spot, not a problem, although you have the blind spot warning system that's on the mirrors that light up. You could clearly see it. I do like that. You know, some manufacturers, they have theirs pop up on the mirrors themselves, like a small little light that you really can't see. This is huge amber lights on the mirror, and it just, there's no way you can miss it. And the rear window is okay, except the sound system back there. There's like a 2 or 3 inch kind of like shelf, I guess. That's where the subwoofer is, and it's popping up about 2 to 3 inches higher than it should, in my opinion. So it does block some of the visibility from the back, but overall I think it's still pretty good. Now this lane keep system is telling me I'm swerving in and out, and what's nice about it is it warns you, and when it warns you, you hear a beep, but you also see it. You know, it's on the windshield. You know, the heads-up display that a lot of cars have. Well, Subaru is utilizing it for their Eyesight, so you actually get warnings through the heads-up display, which is really cool. All right, so I just did a U-turn, just tested out the turning radius. I didn't make that turn, although barely. So it's okay, but the turning radius isn't the greatest for sedan, I would say. Okay. I thought it would be quicker, but I think this engine, honestly, got held down by the CVT. The CVT transmission, Subaru made it to simulate an 8-speed automatic. And in normal driving conditions, you can't even tell. Like when you're just going around town, you know, you really can't tell it's CVT. But during that acceleration test, I definitely felt it. Shifting between the supposed gears, you could tell the RPM was kind of lagging, and it wasn't crisp, and there was something about that, the way it was trying to, there's something about the way it was shifting just made it slower than it should be. Plus, there's a slight turbo lag right off the bat. Turbo lag or CVT lag, I can't tell. Like when you first floor it, you got like a second of delay of like absolutely nothing, and then you'll feel the engine like start
going upward. Definitely didn't feel as fast as the Camry with the V6 engine or the Accord with the turbo engine. Now, as for suspension, I'm on a freeway that has a lot of dips and bumps and imperfections, as you guys can see on screen here, and the suspension is actually quite good. It's handling all this quite well. I don't feel it that much. I feel a little bit, but it's very controlled. I don't feel a whole lot of rattles or anything like that. So the suspension in here is actually quite good. You hear some road noise and some wind noise, slightly. Keep in mind I have the radio off, but other midsize sedans have been quieter. Like when cars pass by, I do hear quite a bit. Now, it could be because this Legacy does not utilize acoustic glass, which a lot of manufacturers do. So that could be the reason why I do hear a lot more cars passing by. When I was up to speed just now, I actually felt the steering. I liked the way it felt. It had a really direct, precise feeling. So I really do like the steering in here quite a bit. I will say the heated steering wheel element that's in here does not get very, very hot. I've driven other cars where it gets so hot, I'm forced to turn it off. This one I'm leaving on. It's just nice and cool, and I don't have to turn it off, and I do like that quite a bit. Now, I wish the throttle response was a little bit better in here. It's kind of laggy, so when you kind of put your foot down, the car just kind of like moseying along, and there's no urgency. You know, that's where maybe like a sport mode or something would really help get this moving, right? So that is where I wish the throttle was tuned a little bit more aggressive. The seats are actually quite nice. The seats, I mentioned about the bolsters in the back, right? It's not too narrow. At least for me, it's perfect. It's holding my back in, and I'm not sliding around on the seats. So I actually do enjoy the seats. Now, they do feel a little bit stiffer. It's not the softest seat I've been in, but I do like how they hug me in and they look absolutely fantastic, but just a tad on the stiffer side.
As for trim levels and pricing, the new Legacy comes with 6 different trim levels, with the base starting out around $22,745. Even with the base model, you get symmetrical all-wheel drive included and features such as LED headlights and 17-inch alloy wheels. And let's not forget Subaru's Eyesight driver assist features such as adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist and sway warning, pre-collision braking and pre-collision throttle management. Those are all included as well. After the base trim, you have the Premium, the Sport, the Limited, and finally the Limited XT and Touring XT, which is what I'm reviewing today. Now, the XT trims get that new powerful 2.4-liter turbo boxer engine with 260 horsepower. The Touring XT trim that I'm reviewing today starts around $35,895. Lastly, let's talk about the good and bad to this brand new Legacy. Starting with the good, it has one of the best interior cabins for this class. The new 2.4-liter turbo engine option is definitely good. Symmetrical all-wheel drive and Eyesight is standard across all trim levels. There is now more rear legroom. The Touring XT is definitely loaded with everything you could think of. And finally, there is a great steering feel and comfortable ride. As for the bad, there are a few things. The climate control functions in the touchscreen is a little bit laggy and takes getting used to. The initial throttle response could be better. The Cvt transmission under hard acceleration, and finally the small backup camera view and low resolution. Overall, I'm giving this brand new Legacy a score of 93, and if you want to see how it compares to its peers, then check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching this, guys. Make sure you leave a like and hit the subscribe button, and check out some of these other videos.